Good evening. Welcome to today's episode. Some would say long overdue. I choose to think that, look, not necessarily long overdue, but quite an interesting time to live in. Um, tariffs, that's the word. That's what essentially is making headlines tariffs and tariffs and tariffs. I think for today's episode, the main thing that I would like to do is perhaps start by looking at my what do you call this? By looking at my investment portfolio, how much money I'm managing, just so that we can have a look at what do you call this? What the impact has been on on my personal portfolio and how much I'm managing that sort of thing. Um, that way, it's easy for me, it's easy for us to speak from the same um what do you call this, from the same page. And then, yeah, we can see how much of it is actually noise and BS versus how much of it is actual conversation about my convictions and the moves that I'm making in the markets. I think we live in that era where it's more a show me your portfolio type environment than it is a tell me your portfolio type thing. So I think I want to start there with the portfolio, and then we can take it from there and have proper conversations. Yeah. Yeah, so if I can just share my web screen and then you can see the portfolio. Just pardon me. Yeah, I just have to make sure that I hide some confidential information just so that I don't compromise my clients' holdings. I think what I'm going to do, oh, it's going to be so difficult. Da, 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 da. Okay, let me just see. Let me just see how I handle this. Yeah, so as you can see, essentially, so I've hidden the client's names, but you can see the shares that I hold. And yeah, okay, this is gonna be very tricky. I was gonna show you a breakdown of how much percent I own in what, but I think it's not really allowing me without compromising on whose behalf I hold. So this is the South African portfolio. As you can see, I'm essentially just breaking even just by the skin of the teeth, right? This is after a good about 3 years, 3 to 4 years, almost a million in the South African portfolio. And yeah, look, I always say I'm a value investor, right? In the worst of days, I want to make sure that I'm not losing my money. So I'm sitting on either cash or I'm sitting on what I invested in. And sometimes it's through dividends, sometimes it's through a combination of dividends and share appreciation. But what's important for me is that after tariffs have been announced, after the ANC has lost elections, after all the things that have gone into the last 3 to 5 years, essentially the invested capital and the amount that we have returned is essentially the same. And that's the position you want to be in when everybody's complaining that we've had the worst 2 days in stock market history, the worst, what have you. And I'm going to show you the US portfolio now, just so that we at least comparing even with the big markets, how that looks. The reason I wanted to start with my South African portfolio is because that's the worst performing, but not only is it the worst performing, it's also what do you call this? It's also the portfolio that I see the most opportunity in. So when I look at shares here that are available, I'm happy because I know that it means that future returns are going to be a lot higher because our stock market is just undervalued. People say it's because of this and that. Look, honestly speaking, nobody really knows. All we know is that today's price for the quality of assets that we're getting tends to be quite cheap, especially when you factor in dividends um, and earnings, which is what I look at predominantly. So I think I'm going to switch to the US portfolio where we can have a better conversation even there regarding what has been happening in the US and talk about tariffs. As you can see with my US portfolio, yeah, I tried my best to hide client names and that sort of thing. But my biggest shareholding is Alibaba, which is in China. Some people would say it's good. Then it's Meta, Alphabet, Cisco, Kellanova. Kellanova is Kellogg's. Yeah, interesting thing happened there, and I decided to buy Kellogg's. Then the Elon Musk starts coming in at about share number 6 or 7, 6. PayPal, then Cognizant Technology Solutions, Medtronic, Garmin, and then others, right? And essentially there, what you have, let me see. There we go. Well, at least if I can move that, you can see the split of what percent is what in my portfolio. So very, very heavy in Alibaba. I've got $3,700 invested in Alibaba, then $2,700 invested in Meta. And then essentially from there, yeah, it just starts sliding scale downwards. And you can see how much I've got in everything else. But what's interesting for me is that after the tariffs, after the biggest 2 days stock market crash, 6 trillion, 6.5 trillion on the markets wiped out. My portfolio is still 32% up of money invested in there. And I think 12,000 US dollars is something around the area of about 200,000 Rand, 250, no, not 250. But essentially, if you use an exchange rate of $19 or an exchange rate of $18, you basically get somewhere close to the $200,000 mark. So all in all, it's R1 million, a million plus some change that I'm holding. The South African portfolio very defensive, sitting in an environment where essentially, yeah, I'm not losing any money. I'm just sitting on the fence. And then the US portfolio is 32% up after having had the worst 2 days in the stock market. So hopefully that can give you some form of um, perspective as to where I'm coming from when I talk about tariffs and some of the things that I'm going to share, my perspectives, my point of view about what's going on. And you'll have seen in some of my videos, my content for the last year, year and a half, some people will say it has changed and moved away from investments. And I say, no, not really. I still fundamentally believe in finance and finance through investments. And the reason is quite simple, or rather, even if it's not simple, it's nuanced. The reason is quite clear, rather, right? We live in a financialized world. We live in a world where we have decided as society that everything is going to be measured through money. And through money is where we're going to decide if good decisions are good or bad decisions are bad. What do I mean by that? The value of family has been hugely eroded, right? I'm not a family podcaster. So as a result, you'd have to go and watch those podcasts and see what the importance of family is. All I do is I try and link the extent to which family and finance intersect. And as far as possible for me, as far as family is a good investment strategy, I then have a look at the family perspective or the family dimension of your investment portfolio. Then you've got your friendships. Um, Friendships are your pals, the people that know you better than anybody else, the people that will go and fight wars with you, that family would most prefer you sit at home and look after yourself, that sort of thing. So, yeah, essentially, even there, I look at what the impact would be on your portfolio, what sort of investments are friendly to that type of relationship format. Then you've got faith and fitness. Faith and fitness essentially speak to your spirituality, and then fitness speak to your health and well-being. Mental health has been a very huge topic over the last couple of years, so no need to talk much about there. But spirituality, the whole idea that we're here for a purpose and for a significant purpose above ourselves, those are the, I think, in my opinion, the four other areas. And then the fifth one is finance. And it's also not my, I mean, the 5 Fs, as it's so called, it's not my invention. It's not even something that I stumbled upon. It's the teachings of Rabbi Lapin. And he says that he studied 1,000 years of Jewish history or ancient Jewish wisdom and synthesized it into those 5 areas. So it's not an invention of mine, but it's a concept that I've taken to and a concept that I agree with a lot. Be that as it may, society, especially a capitalist and so-called democratic society, has no way of measuring that. And so as a result, you end up measuring the health of the planet purely through financial terms. So what Trump is doing what the president before him was doing, President Biden, and then also what the president that would have come in if it wasn't Trump was intending to do. All of that pretty much seldom gets measured, right? And so everything gets looked at through the financials scope or the financial lens. And so that's how we find ourselves having to talk about tariffs today, over and above what it means for economies and what have you. To my friends that are wondering, how is this affecting my portfolios? How is this affecting my investment recommendations? I have said to you guys that, look, I think this is something that I don't particularly want to look at or worry myself too much about, because you do get, this is what investing is about. The periods and times that have passed where we were sitting in tons and tons of cash and overvaluations. Those are nice. Those were nice periods, and those were periods where basically anybody that's ever opened an investment portfolio, they can be proved to be correct. But now the period that we're sitting in currently shows or takes out who are the real investors versus who are the investors that are taking a chance. And I don't want to say based on the returns that I have that I'm the real investor and everybody else is taking a chance. But I want to say that at least you can see that my portfolio speaks for itself. So I'm pretty up for itself. I'm pretty comfortable. And that's not to say I haven't had some losses. I mean, when I look at my South African portfolio, huge, huge, huge losses. When I look at a share like Google that I bought at about $145, $150, trading at about $145, I'm bleeding there. Then Intel, I think we discussed last year when results came out, and I said that, hey, you know what? Actually, when it comes to Intel, essentially it's an American play. It's me saying that Americans believe in themselves so much that hey, I'm not going to get in the way and interrupt them. But nonetheless, those are the two investments where I'd look at and say, oof, I didn't fully follow my methodology. Then there's Tugela Resources, Tugela and PPL. Not Tugela, sorry. What's this one? RNG, REN, Renegen, where they discovered helium in the Karoo, in the Free State. And essentially, they likened it to the discovery of gold in 1896 in South Africa. So those are somewhat speculative bets. They have cost me a lot, but the upside is worth as much bleeding as is possible. But talking about tariffs and coming back to tariffs. So to answer the question quite bluntly, right, and the way a value investor looks at something like tariffs, these are all part of macroeconomic considerations. So they're nice to know. They're good to keep abreast because they give you buying opportunity, but they don't really tell you much about individual shares and individual companies. And that's the strength of our investment criteria and our investment portfolio. A lot of these shares, Louis, Spur, Mr. Price, Meta, as I showed you, Alibaba, Sibanye, Still Waters, believe it or not, Impala Platinum, which I don't hold, but I keep close tabs on it, Exaro, African Rainbow Minerals. Those are all shares that when you look at the quality of the financial statements, you get to see that management is very sober minded. Management says, I would rather sit on a lot of cash because the future is uncertain, reduce my liabilities, reduce my operating expenses, and sit in a position where I'm able to take advantage of opportunities whenever they come. And we may never know where those opportunities will come from. The only thing that we know is that for as long as we have management that has a sober head on their shoulders, they oftentimes will take advantage of opportunities that arise in the market. So that's why you find me essentially performing at 32% post there were two worst days in the market. And then in the South African market, despite the ANC losing elections, despite the shaky GNU, despite the VAT hikes, despite all these economic setbacks and shocks, I still am not in the red yet at an overall portfolio perspective. Obviously, at individual portfolio level, depending on time that I got in, time that weights that I put into different shares, you'll find that there are portfolios that are red, there are portfolios that are green for that matter. But the important thing is to understand that the investment methodology is premised on strong company individual performance. or financials. A position that says we are not so arrogant that we say we know the future, but we're wise enough to know that whatever the future looks like, having cash in hand is what's going to be a strong shield against the setbacks that the future throws at us. Tariffs themselves. So I've been very vocal that I'm a fan of Donald Trump, largely because politics has been lying to us for the longest time ever. Being a fan of him also means that I understand the risk that it comes with the volatility that he creates in markets, that he creates, not even volatility, the shock factor that he has in conversations. For me, why I'm a fan of Donald Trump is that he, more often than not, is willing to say things like they are in an environment where people essentially kill us with political niceness. People are kind to us at our detriment. So if you don't tell me how bad the situation is, I don't get to prepare for the future that I'm going to have. And if you look at the videos that I was making in the last 18 months, it seemed as if they were moving away from finance. And that's because I could tell that there's something in the water that's just not right. Gents are unemployed, ladies are not getting married, gents are not getting married, we're not starting families, we're not building homes, we're not creating the sort of society that we grew up in or our parents grew up in. And that for me was a red flag to say that, you know what, I may not know per se how this translates into an investment portfolio, but I know at a societal level, you have to have some of these safety guards. You have to have people that believe in doing good for the sake of children to come, children in future. You have to have men that have women that they're willing to protect, irrespective of how you identify and how you wish society could have its ideals. So I'm a fan of Donald Trump from that perspective, the return of a certain level of patriarchy that's healthy for society. Obviously, not absolute what's this patriarchy? I'm not a bigot. I'm not an idiot. I'm quite learned. I'm a youth myself. I understand some of the advancements and the progresses that have been made in human society, as well as getting to a point where we can sit in a room and have decent conversations with people that are not like us, people that are not white males, people that are not the predominant sectors of the economy. But do you see, once again, it's the economy dictating what we define as normal, what we define as revolutionary. So, from that perspective, I've been a fan of Trump because he's basically saying, let us return to traditional norms, at least even if it's for the sake of just resetting and having some sense and sensibility. We had gone too much out when it comes to saying nice things and not necessarily saying the truth. On the other hand, my man calculated tariffs completely incorrect. There are many podcasts, there are many YouTube videos that you can have a look at that point out exactly what it did. Essentially, it was some sort of looking at the level of imports and trade differences between them and other countries, and then dividing that by two or dividing that by some arbitrary factor that then justifies why he can paint America as a victim. And if you followed my WhatsApp stories, if you're lucky enough to be someone who I have their number and they have my number, but also if you followed the rhetoric of my conversation, American values are really not the values to look out for. They're not really the family values when all is said and done. So we had a situation where Donald Trump believes that America essentially belongs to private capital, private individuals, and he's going to be the person that takes advantage of this crisis to basically facilitate the downfall of America, but at least to put it in the hands of capitalists, the hands of people who identify with the American spirit. And from that perspective, you basically salvage some sort of a loss or some sort of a win from the situation. So the elephant in the room, or the open secret, if you didn't know, is that America has been the dominant force in global geopolitics for the last 50 years through some unscrupulous means, through some sort of bullying, some sort of focusing the economy, NATO, all attention on them, and propaganda essentially, selling the Kool-Aid that this is the way to go, whitewashing history, ignoring some of the things that need to be dealt with at a real and substantive level, and then essentially putting yourself in a position where you are the de facto superpower, even if nobody can point at what is it that makes you a superpower. You're not the highest producer, you're not the most productive economy, you're not the best at anything other than the fact of saying that you are the best at something. And I don't want to go too much in that direction. And that's why you have found that I've been very quiet on the socials and I've been learning a lot. So if there's anything to take away more than anything, my view on tariffs is sit back. Nobody knows how it's going to play out. A lot of people do know how the world has been broken and corrupted, and that this reset was long overdue. But the conspiracies as to who knew how much the stock market was going to crash and who's going to do what, complete myth. For your portfolio's sake, I still invest in the same shares: Meta, Google, Alibaba, Garmin. Those are great companies in as far as financial statements are concerned, in as far as return on capital is concerned, and in as far as reading the economic environment and political environment and taking advantage of opportunities. Outside of that, I think I keep doubling down on more community type values, more community type social setting. I am at that age where I do believe in family. I am at that age where I'm in my process of getting married, buying property, and making sure that I'm a stable 35, 33, 38, 40-year old myself. And I put myself in the best position to take advantage of the economic opportunities that come to people that are stable. It's also not just solely an economic decision. It's also a decision to just make sure that you're a well-rounded individual and you're not solely focused on one or two factors that you think should determine all of life. That's essentially my view on tariffs. I didn't intend for this to be long. I do have more I can say, and I will say probably in more podcasts unfolding. But I think as a soft launch for tariffs, I wanted to start from a portfolio perspective. What does this mean for your psychology, for what you should be doing in your portfolio? And by and large, make sure that you still are doing your valuations at a company level. Don't panic about country level demographics. The strongest companies tend to adapt. They tend to show that you've got management that's sensible, management that is interested in safeguarding shareholders' value, but then taking advantage of opportunities that are available. So some of these opportunities are going to create buybacks. They're going to create mergers and acquisitions that are good for the individual investor. It is a capitalist system. I'm not 100% a fan of it because of what it has done in the decimation of family and everything that I think stands for a good life building and a balanced life building. But yeah, my job is to use the one tool that God gave me to take advantage of the situation. And that tool for me is investing and buying shares in opportunities that are undervalued, that are cheap, that are available for the taking. I'm Chairman Mo. I probably did speak fast on this recording. Maybe it's a welcome back to me to say, hey, the recordings are fewer and farther in between. But it's also because, hey, man, some wisdom has taught me that if there's nothing to say, say nothing. And then if you do have something, say it as clearly as you can say it, as best as you can say it, and then move out of the way of people. We are building our lives. We are trying to make sure that we can survive these economic times. And yeah, in the end, hopefully all goes well. Chairman Mo, thank you very much always for your audience. I really, really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted at all. And I hope that this has been a value adding listen. Cheers.